They'll be calling you a radical. Hi, Kevin Blanch. I've run this idea by a lot of people for a long time. I've run it through my mind even before I got cancer on my book, Post-Ignorance, that I wrote 3 years ago. And the reason I've kept that price so high, I really didn't want anybody to buy it. It's more of an art book. It's more of a reference book to my broader book. But it needs to get out there. I wrote this before I had leukemia, so I've run this idea by to read the book and put it up free on YouTube, one chapter at a time, which everybody says I'm crazy, I don't care. That's what I'm going to do. That's exactly starting today, right here, right now. And I'm going to lay out why I use this backdrop, why I use this mountain in the economic, powerful metaphor. I'm going to break down and expose stuff about the Federal Reserve, as I grew up in the most powerhouse Federal Reserve family in the world, which I don't tell people about. I'm going to expose stuff and break stuff that's never been exposed in the history of this country. And I'm going to do this all outdoors. It is so much significance as my 2012 poster art, as you guys know. And if you send me some, I've been getting some nice stuff. Your logo here has a lot of power. As I'm going to lead this in, and I'm going to start this, and as soon as this book's done, which I have never ever showed my art, my post-ignorance art, which I've been painting in that style since 1991. A vast majority of it in 94, because that's when NAFTA was started, as I'm the only graduate in the history of this school with a finance and art double major to this day, as there was a big debate going which or the other, as I was on Wall Street, as I grew up in this incredible town, as I am the historian, as I restored the 1905 Masonic Temple, and I'm going to lay out the incredible, huge significance and how I single-handedly not just saved it with my hammer and chisel it, I saved it from the wrecking ball, and I will prove that that could be the most significant building in the Western United States. No bullshit. I'll disclose all kinds of stuff in this book, and I am going to give it away. And any of you people that did buy my book, the few of you out there, please do not copy my art and redisplay it. And as I read this, do not remix this video unless you come to me and you ask me. And if I do give you permission, you got to give me credit, and I have to review it first. I am giving this away. I'm not publishing it. I am going to read it, and we're supposed to get rain here the next few days, so over time I'll read a chapter a day. And I'll go over this thing, and this is a powerful book. It really is a powerful book. My attorney said, and I left it in a rough draft, as I finished it exactly to the moment of the 30-year anniversary of the assassination of John Lennon, as that day was the day the great conservative movement was born, and the great progressive movement, which was all about here, all about my family and all about here, and I'll prove it and show it to you. I'll show you the most powerful secret society in the history of the modern world, bar none, and I'm the only one that knows about it. And I'll expose it with fact. I've researched this book for years. This will be no commentary, this will be a documentary. I'm going to read this in a different outdoor setting in this beautiful place, sitting in my chair. I'm going to read this to you, and I'm giving it all away free, as I'm full of leukemia, and I know the odds are against me. Even though I went through the cure, I know what the odds of the survival rate on this are. I know they're against me. I need to get this done. My attorney says, Kevin, you need to get it done right here, right now. So this is it. I'll be showing some of my artwork. I made up a book. I'm going to release that book when I'm done reading this. As soon as I'm done reading this, I will start reading my broader book. But this is how I'm going to do this. Post-Ignorance by Kevin Blanch. The blowjob that changed the world. One of my many scars, a result of neo-ignorance, critical condition, 35-foot fall in 2005, broken back and skull. The attending physician has this photo on his wall with the caption, "The best battle scar I've ever seen." Remember, I wrote this before I got leukemia, and if you want to talk about my lectures or my mindset, Gwen Holdenberry, by the way, who I love her, she's brilliant. I did a radio show a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. I'll post the link on her monster radio show. That could be the best lecture I ever gave, that 30-minute rant I went on last July 24th, 2011. It's online. I will post it. Art, culture, economics, finance, wealth, sex, history, politics, religion, Mormons, a secret society of powerful wealth. The reality to all this is plain. Ignorance is hate, is bred by two. The male provides the hate, Roe Bremer, Wolfowitz, Cheney, Murdoch. The female allows the male to breed her via ignorance and passive arguments. The American popular opinion, the pregnancy is an unwanted child with a mother who is overweight, high and drunk every day, all day. All through the pregnancy, the belief in a yellow ribbon, the lazily poorly educated geographical argument, the racist view of lower taxes, there is no orphanage to send the little creep to, so we pass it around until one day American popular opinion sees its face and recognizes that it is the child they abandoned so long ago. They embrace the child and take the child in. And then as the child in an angry rage kills the parents, us, American popular opinion, in our sleeps. Asians from 1946 to 1971 that turned into the racist view of Middle Easterners. The pure, lazy mother and aggressive, ignorant father have created the new, even more ignorant child, the American popular opinion. Born not from love, born from angry sex in a crack house. The child has been born. It has now remember, this is in rough draft. A small brain and is addicted to anything it looks at. It is obese, it is lazy, it knows no other way. The child is ours now. The parents refuse to raise it. $35 trillion war, lower taxes. That's just there's a lot of poetry in this book. That's just one piece of poetry that I put out in the section of my book. It goes on. My creditation page, page 1, is I give credit to John Steinbeck and the Grapes of Wrath, and I like to use his quotes. I give credit to Kandinsky, as I believe that so much was born from his brain in 1911. As I give credit to Rachel Carson and her brilliant artistic passion, as this is the modern day literature, YouTube. As I've heard it for years, that literature only changes around the edges. Anyone who says that knows nothing about Alan Greenspan and Ayn Rand. Anybody who says that knows nothing about Herman Melville, as he died unknown on Wall Street as a night watchman. What a metaphor that is. As no one read that book for 50 years after his death, as Teddy read it and changed the world. As Rachel Carson wrote Silent Springs, and single-handedly one person took on DDT and stopped the environmental poisoning as she died. The true work of art is born from an artist, a mysterious enigma, a mystic creation. It detaches itself from him, it acquires an anonymous life, becomes a personality, an independent subject, animated with a spiritual breath, the living subject of real existence, a being. Kandinsky. New needs new techniques, and the modern artists have found new ways and new means of making their statements. The modern painter cannot express the age, the airplane, the atom bomb, the radio, in the old forms of Renaissance or in any other past culture. Jackson Pollock. October is one of the particularly dangerous months to speculate in stocks. Other dangerous months are July, January, September, April, November, May, March, June, December, August, and February. Mark Twain. Dedication page. Maggie and Digger. I dedicated this book to my father, Dwayne Edwin Blanch, the most incredible mind, strong, loving man I have ever known. He looked like Elvis Presley with muscles. He had a wit like Mark Twain. He had a dedicated thinking mind like Freud. But most of all, he loved people. He loved children, not just his own, everyone's. He was a man who feared no one. He stood his ground in the face of all uphill battles. He died with honor, real honor. He lived with passion throughout his life. His brilliant life was taken by neo-ignorant, fake patriots with a Freudian agenda. He lives in all of us who despise false heroes, who hate war and ignorance, and the fake deniers with yellow ribbons. He, like all the atomic veterans drafted into false battles, lives in all of us. And we, as sons and daughters and nephews and nieces and grandchildren and friends of any man or woman whose life has been taken, pained, and altered by the ignorant past and present, have an obligation to the offspring or friend's offspring, whether it is 1 generation or 10 generations removed, to stand and scream, as loud as we could scream, this is wrong, and we are the post-ignorance few, who fully intend to expose you for what you are, co-conspirators to murder. Kevin Dwayne Blanch. Kevin Dwayne Blanch, Weighted Wealth. I have worked on the SET index for 16 years now. I have used my index in wealth management for 14 years. Oil, gold, real estate, currents, medium income. I have built a matrix in regard to this SET index. I weigh my index against any said country's major equity or bond indexes. In regard to the study and book of mine, the SET index of mine can be used in relation to any portfolio of any kind, individual equities, baskets, real estate commodities, bonds, currencies, and any variation of the SET investment instrument. I first used my SET matrix in 1996. This is my first official publication of this SET matrix. As once a great artist said, every time I paint I die a little. I have always said, every time I plaster I die a little. Now that my hawk and trial has been restrained by exploiters and ignorant, I hate craft and love fake, I have been dying a lot lately as I search for fight and breath and light and starve for passion. I have worked on this project for 2 years now. I need life, I need love, I need passion. This project is like sex, a sex addict watching porn, searching. I need real sex and passion. This book, I hope, gives all the passion I have lived my entire life surrounded and captured and back to me. This world has lost its romance, its color, its ideas, its forward-thinking skills. Awake, please awake. Searching. Kevin Dwayne Blanch, 10/30/10. Post-ignorance, my brain. Chapter 1, Economic Practice as Religion. Chapter 2, The Blowjob That Changed the World. Chapter 3, White-Collar Crime Becomes Our Economy. Chapter 4, Shift F-13. Chapter 5, Dr. Cooley. Chapter 6, Atomic Nuke Our Own. Chapter 7, Radical Conservatism. Chapter 8, Home, Homeless, or Happy. Chapter 9, Weighted Wealth. Chapter 10, The Incorporation of the American Dream. Chapter 11, U.S. Boycott of the 1980 Olympics for what? The invasion of Afghanistan. Chapter 13, 12 and 13. Freemakers and Masons. I use 13 for a reason. No, I'm not a Mason in that theory, but boy, do I write about them. And boy, am I going to expose the powerhouse in this book. And I am I split my own rock. I don't lay fake rock, or females for that matter. Chapter 1. I see post-ignorance as a pure art movement in the concept of art itself, and the concept of art is culture, and the concept that people are culture, and the concept that inspiration influence our great historical artists like Van Gogh, on Malay, like Pollock's reference to Dickinski, like Monet's to the sunlight, morning, dawn, winter, fall, summer, spring. It is influenced by the invokeness of the time. My look at culture and art there as today, economic theory, popular culture, art or more reality, the lack thereof art. The mind of seeing when others for some cognitive reason do not see. Everyone saw light for millenniums, everyone saw simple line for millenniums, everyone saw eclectic color for millenniums. It is more than per se the artist. Monet saw the light, Malay saw the struggle, Van Gogh saw the line, Smithson saw the simplicity of the line and shape against the landscape. Kandinsky saw the election of color and shape. Pollock saw the color of dynamics in motion. But much more than that, they saw decades ahead of the truth. Their minds saw fact and truth. Their minds were strong enough to act upon what they understood, when all others did not understand, not yet. They had strong backs and knew how to work. They were the purification of ambition, intelligence, education, smooth with work ethic. I visualize and have for over 2 decades known via my hawk and trowel, via my keyboard, via my paintbrush, via my cardboard $3 throwaway camera, via my flip video camera, via my soapbox YouTube, via my websites is this. Periodic injustice to the entire world, wars without provocation, pain without a crime, love without an artistic spirit, ignorance with a club, a big club. As a counterculture, I have termed neo-ignorance as post-ignorance. I see post-ignorance like this, as a movement in pure intellectualism, in broad intellectualism. Not I know how to history, not I know how to draw like a camera, not I know how to interpret, not I know how to incorporate, but I know culture, I know environments in the more exposed manner. I know economics, I know geopolitics, I know metaphors good and bad. I know struggle and what it feels like to be stolen in wealth, mind, artistic and benevolent. I have painted in this movement of mine for 20 years. I have designed in this mindset for 20 years. I have used color in this mindset for 45 years. I've written in this mindset for 20 years. I plastered in this mindset for 34 years, 134 days. It is grounded and grounded into my brain and hocket trowel and overused back, twisted and scarred. It is impassioned by the 10,000 plaster jobs I have done. It is fueled by the pain of watching my father, Dwayne Blanch, a pure genius of life, being loaded into a body bag as his mind, a Picasso or Dali or Melville, his mind as he died on fire with sharpness of grass fire, killed by American ignorance, atomic veteran drafted via spite and hate by a competitive, ugly people, by a scar of a severed tongue, and a byproduct of a mythical idealism. The joy comes from the exploitation of brown people, grounded by the crushed face and the scar across my face, my deformed nose and my missing upper jaw bone, and fake teeth sponsored by brass knuckles and a Hail Mary sucker punch by my own nephew, who needed to rob a 75-year-old woman, my pinup artist, alone on the ancient lake floor. Influenced by Robert Smithman, who patted me on the head and winked at me in 1970 as my father and he talked at the Spiral Jetty. Influenced by Mariner Eccles, who put his genius-carrying soul to all humanity, economic theory, all of his economic theory, based as religion and used as a weapon. His one of compassion for others, not as the past 30 years summoned by greed on hate. He lived and worked right up the road from me, influenced by the architecture of Leslie Hotz, an Art Deco giant, whose work I stared at and lived in and learned in and watched my father and grandfather trade cattle futures in, suitcases of cash, in and around, touching me visual and taste, influenced by the ignorance of popular opinion, tearing down John Affleck Park, of wanting to tear down Ogden High, of tearing down the Ogden Canyon rock retaining walls and replacing it with Jersey barricades, even when my rock and plastering business, Blanch Plastering, offered to restore it for free. Influenced by a mother who could draw like a camera, pinups. Influenced by great teachers and living in a great cosmopolitan city as it was slowly passing away. Great teachers who loved art and exposed me to great art. Influenced by inherited wealth losers who had nothing to do to try to be artists and English teachers at the high school level who kicked me out of school and later begged me to stick with their studios, which I did. I have embraced knowledge from birth. I am a visual believer, learned through documentaries, PBS, learned through experience. Age, I am 50 now. See the landscape of culture in the landscape of the place you live, in a television, in a computer screen, in a walk along the local river, in a hike to the top of Mount Ogden, through a picnic at the Spiral Jetty, through a drive over Monte Cristo, through the vase that sits on my mantle, made from the redwood of the dismantled 1904 Union Pacific Causeway. A heightened in my brain, all of my brain, not just the front and center, of the cause and effect of ignorance and the Freudian agenda masquerading as medium. Ignorance, like the premeditated murder of my beautiful father. My mother would say he always looked like Elvis with muscles. The brown pigment of his colored eyes burned to dull gray like the Great Salt Lake in early spring. I know ignorance. I have lived ignorance in the pain. The murder of my father, the killing of my lifelong passion, Blanch Plastering, fake rock, fake stucco, EFAS, fake stone. The abuse of supply-side economics. The murder of hundreds of thousands, unknowing anything about drawing lines and calling themselves nationalists. The non-existence of any art movement, and the destruction of thinking in vogue and visual ideas. Post-ignorance is intelligent art with things and people and places and experience with a flip video camera around my neck. With going from poor to rich to poor and living in a starved artist experience at 50. Watching my big magnificent environmental work, 1150 South, 4400 West, West Weber, be hammered down as a great thinker said, the true work of art is born from the artist, a mysterious, enigmatic, mystic creation. It detaches itself from him. It acquires an anonymous life, becomes a personality, an independent subject, animated with a spiritual breath, the living subject of real existence of being. Kandinsky. Hammered down like the aesthetic old nail in Hamlet and turned into an Orwellian piece of shit opinion loves me. The average suburbanite in the world cannot drink and drive, not because it is illegal and dangerous, because they cannot find the house. They pull into an 800-house subdivision and they look at the fake rock, fake stucco, EFAS, the fake so-called Venetian plaster, paint over sheetrock, their fake breast, their downloaded blueprint Fortran, their identical audibles made by 100 manufacturers who use the same said blueprint. They walk into the wrong door, and before they get their gun out of their sock, the wrong house owner shoots him. Then shoots his wife for sleeping with the boss at her impoverished hourly wage job that can be barely pay the daycare. Whether their child becomes addicted to child drugs or becomes ADD or whatever other lazy or ignorant non-parenting can create. Not to mention the stress of poverty, me today. I have been living the country and western version of Hamlet. My father's lines as from Denmark. I do have an Uncle Claude. And my wife did leave me for my own cousin, it is true. Bar most of the ending. I have told this to thousands of people. No one has a clue. what I'm talking about and continues to drool in the ignorant state of life they have cultivated. I put up a video on YouTube channel right after the BP oil spill titled Fuck BP. I spoke of Rachel Carson's environmental iconic book Silent Springs. I said Silver Springs, an obvious Freudian slip. It took nearly 5,000 years for anyone to spot it. My intention is not this, not a commentary, but a documentary in regard to ignorance. I fully can and will show via YouTube, plastering my hawk and trowel and rock-splitting sledgehammer, color my canvas and paintbrush, my education, economic theory, schooled and traveled in real business. That we as humans live in the aggregate of ignorance unseen in the modern world. This book will support culture's inevitable reality of the embracing of ignorance as the popular opinion of military-industrial giant, all its horrible, grotesque byproducts point by point. Economic theory and the abuse of supply and rant fakers, Orwellian idealism via dullness, contrarian oblique awareness, derivatives in wealth, European lazy laugh at the U.S. attitude of not us when you are us, great deductive thinking is suicide and hindering of who I am, the food chain, wealth or lack thereof wealth, poverty hidden in 65 hours a week, pure stupidity, art is gay and gay is art, kill it, environmental is land and water drown people, kill it. Religion is everything, although I have no reading skills. Language, use the word folks.